This is elimination.
So we have our system of equations right here, and we have to get both of the equations into standard form. Luckily, the second equation is already in standard form, so to get the first equation in standard form, we have to just move this negative 2y over to the other side. And here, to eliminate, you have to multiply both equations by the other equation's coefficient of x, because we're solving for y by eliminating x. So right here, you add both equations and the x's cancel out. And so you get this, which you divide by -5, and then you get y equals -4. Then you get here, and so you take this equation right here, and you plug in what you just got for y, and you divide both sides by 3, and then you get x equals 5. So the solution is x equals 5 and y equals -4. To solve for x by eliminating y, we already put both equations into standard form. So here we just multiply by the coefficient of the other equation's y. So we multiply both sides by 7 here, and we multiply both sides by -2 right here. Then we add both equations, and the y's cancel out, so we get this. We divide by 5, and we get x equals 5. Then we get this equation right here, and we plug in our x right from there, and we move over 15. Then we subtract, and we divide by both sides by 2, and then we get y equals -4. So the solution is x equals 5 and y equals -4.
This is substitution.
And right here we are solving equation 1 for x, and then substituting that into equation 2 to solve for y. And so we have both of our equations here from our system of equations, and to get x from one equation, we divide this equation by 3, and we get x on its own. And so right here we have to plug what we just got for x into
The second equation.
and we use distributive property. So we multiply this by that and this by that to get our next answer, which is right here. And then we move this over to the other side, and we get this, and we subtract, and right here we get this after subtracting, and then we multiply by 3, we divide by 5, and we get y equals -4. Then we take this equation that we made right here, and we plug in what we just got for y, and we solve, and so we multiply this by that, and we add the equations up, and we get x equals 5. So we have x equals 5 and y equals -4. This is solving equation 2 for x, and then substituting that into equation 1 to solve for y. So right here we have to isolate x, so we get it alone, and then we divide by 8 to get it fully on its own, and we get this equation, right? And so here we have to, we plug in what we just got into this, and we use distributive property, which I just talked about, to solve this. And then we move this over to this side and the 7 over to the other side. And then we subtract and add. And then we have to multiply the fractions to get them to be able to subtract and add. And then we solve for that, and we multiply by 8 both sides, and then we get this, and we divide both sides by 5. We get -4 equals y, which is y equals -4. And then we get our equation from right here that we made there, and we plug in our y value that we just got. So with that, we plug that in, and then we multiply this and get this to multiply by 4, so that the denominator is equal, so that we can add, and we get this, and then we see that x equals 5, and so at the end we see that x equals 5 and y equals -4.
For solving by graphing,
We first have to go get both equations into slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. So right here we have to move 7 over to the other side, and then divide both sides by -2, and then we get this, so we just
simplify
to get it into this form, and we get this equation. So for the second equation, we have to move 8x over to the other side, then divide both sides by 7, and we get this as our final answer, and we just simplify the fraction right there. And so we have to be able to plot all the points. So right here what I did is I just plugged in these numbers to solve for the equation to get some points that were easy to graph. So right here I just did this. I multiplied by -1 since x is 1, and I got this equation, and then I just simplified the fraction that I got from adding these two, and I got y equals 5. So when x is -1, y equals 5, and I just saw that there was a pattern since the slope is -3/2 that you did -1.5 every time you went up 1x. And so for this, I also did the same as up here. I just plugged in x equals -1 into the equation, then I solved that, and I added my fractions, I simplified my fraction into this, and so I put that into my table right there, and I did the same here. I multiplied by 1 since I put in x into the equation, and I added my fractions and got this as the answer, which is right here. And so for this I did the same. I got this, I plugged in 2, then I added my fractions, and I got this as my answer for y. I did the same here. I substituted 3 into it, then added my fractions and simplified my fractions to get this right here. And so I plotted all of my points right here, and I found the solution, which is where the lines intersect, and it ended up being 5 and -4, which you can see right here.